Now, Democratic Alliance MPL, or member of the provincial legislature in full, that's Zwakele Mncwango, has resigned from KwaZulu-Natal legislature, giving up his role as chief whip of the Democratic Alliance in that province. However, he said that he would remain a member of the political party. Mncwango further adding that there is fear, though, of speaking out against wrongdoing in the party, coupled with arrogance. These are quotation marks I should be using here. Mncwango joining us now to elaborate on exactly what troubles him about his political home, and he speaks to us now via the virtual platform. Mr. Mncwango, thank you very much for your time. I'd like to use your words, and that is that you say your conscience won't allow you to draw a salary when you are not putting in your best work. What has caused this attitude from you?
Morning to you, Xoli, and morning to the viewers. Look, it wasn't really an easy decision for me to take. I think firstly one can confirm that I've resigned from legislature as the chief whip of the DA in legislature, but I have not resigned as a member of the DA. But this does allow me some time to reflect and make a proper decision whether would I still want to remain a member or not. And I think something that I have to make as an individual. No one can force me to make a decision. I will have to make a decision. But all in all, it's all about to say, when you join the party because you believe you're going to be able to be in line with the values, and the party is aligned with your own personal values. But as time goes by, you are sent to legislature or parliament to represent the party. But when you are there, you must also ask yourself whether are you still able to represent the organization that sent you there in terms of aligning yourself with some of the decisions and policy direction. So there are reasons why one have to do introspection and ask yourself whether you still can able to continue in such a platform and defend the party in some of the decisions. Look, I think my view is there are other things in the organization that I believe can be done differently. I still believe, for example, as we all know, that we are going towards something we can't avoid. Come 2024, we will have a coalition arrangements. There's no way to doubt that, which means the attitude and the way we do things should really differ in a point that says, if you start to say, I can never work with party A or party B, it means you are not prepared to be part of the solution. We must be part of the solution. I believe that some of the coalition that collapsed, we should have done things differently.
Yeah.
So that's my strong view.
Look, I'm going to have to try and force this out of you, because we can't speak in codes. Viewers, voters, they want examples. When you say the Democratic Alliance no longer aligns with your personal values, what are some of these things that are being done that you are not in agreement with?
Look, the party have values of fairness. The party have values of freedom, which also encompass the freedom of speech, where in the organization we must be able to differ with respect and able to understand each other. And also it's a party that believes in the rule of law. I've made an example with the recent situation in Western Cape, which facing a speaker of Western Cape, Xoli, where I strongly believe that if he has done something wrong, he must be subjected before the process and be found guilty if he's guilty, and sanction must be given to him. But the situation there, for me, it talks to the process not being fair to an individual. So that's really part of the example I'm giving you, where there was allegations against him, and the party did the right thing by handing over information, whatever they have, to Hawks, and Hawks are busy with the matter to investigate the matter against Xoli. But on the same token, now the party come and say, we are now charging you on the same matters before the Hawks. How fair is that? Are we still believing in the process of law enforcement? And why we went to Hawks and at this other time, on our side, we're also charging the same person. And now they talk about the motion of confidence against him as a speaker of Western Cape. So for me, there's double process. So meaning this person is now subjected two different prosecutions, where I believe in terms of fairness, he must be subjected to one process. If Hawks are dealing with a matter, let Hawks deal with the matter. If the party didn't want him to go through the Hawks, they should have charged him internally and deal with him internally. But you can't have someone answering to Hawks at the same time answering internally. At the same time, you say you want to remove the same person as a speaker before even found guilty. Those are the simple examples, Xoli, I can simply make. And the reality there's a situation where you've got a deputy speaker where there's a report that proves that there was something wrong on her side. On the same government, you are charging one person but not charging the other. How fair is that?
Yeah.
Are we still in the principle of fairness?
All right. And those are solid examples that you are putting forward, Mr. Mncwango. I'm going to ask you this question, and it's a deliberate question given what has been happening in the Democratic Alliance, and that is the departure of young black leaders like yourself exiting the party. Give us whether or not Xoli Mncwango, or let me put it this way, Xoli Mncwango, the name says itself. He's a black person. Who's the deputy speaker and what race are they?
The deputy speaker, I think her name is Debbie. She is a female. The rest is white.
There we go. So there's the nub of the issue. Are you suggesting that Xoli Mncwango is being treated differently to his white counterpart? And does that tell you, and I suppose by extension the voter, that the Democratic Alliance is practicing what it has been accused of many, many times, and that is racism? Is that what you are alleging here?
I'm not really saying that. For me, the issue is, it doesn't matter whether she's white or Indian or colored. Bottom line is, people must be treated fairly, and equally so. So it doesn't matter in terms of the race or gender. So for me, the issue is, you can make your own judgment. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying people must be treated equally. Even if she was a black person, I would have said the same thing. Because I don't believe that one must be subjected differently to the other. So we must treat people equally. That's part of the values that I strongly believe it. And that's what all these years, I think, make me stick with the DA, because I believe that we treat everyone equally. We are a party that believe in a fair process. We are a party that believe in the rule of law.
We're going to wind this down, and let me ask you the question. If the Democratic Alliance continues in this way, because part of your disenchantment is that you're saying even the policies that are being followed by the party at national level is something that you no longer in agreement with. So, if the Democratic Alliance continues in this way, what messaging is being sent out to voters?
Look, it's a difficult part, but as I said earlier, in Zulu, Xoli, city I kokoti netambo. So part of the reason to say step back from a paid position and be an orderly member, and allow you to have an introspection and say, am I still aligned or not? And I think one has to make a decision. And I think it won't be long before one make a decision whether am I staying with the party or not. So it's not a matter of to say whether the party can change or not. I think the party must do introspection and have a discussion and say, what has went wrong? Because our narrative that's been going out in the media is more like, it's only black people who are leaving the organization. I can tell you, Xoli, the message I get from even white people, Indian people, who share the same concerns that we are talking about. So it's a reality that says the organization itself needs to say, how do we have an honest and robust engagement, not having fear of different views? Because obviously right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm articulating what others might feel I shouldn't be saying it. And the next thing they will come and say, no, suspend Mncwango or charge Mncwango because he's now talking against the organization, instead of going to the drawing board and say, what are these issues that affect members and why members are leaving the organization? Because you can count members of parliament who have left parliament is not only black people. You will see it's across racial spectrum. So you can tell that there's something wrong, but the issue is the organization prepared to have engagement internally about these issues?
Mr. Mncwango, I'm reluctant to let you go without asking one crucial question. So you said just before we went on a break that if you speak out, there is fear, there's trepidation among leaders of this party. You're not a member, you're no ordinary member, you are a leader in your own right, but you say that there is trepidation if you speak out and you voice the views that you have just expressed moments ago. Now that you have, do you think that that is going to sit well with the leadership, or might you come out of this interview and immediately be subjected to a disciplinary hearing?
I wouldn't know, Xoli, but anything is possible. But anyway, I think one has grown up in politics. You always get prepared for anything. And I think there are many individuals who might have the same feeling, but who can't say it because they are still earning a salary through the organization. And I think the issue is you must be able to speak out. And right now, for me, I have nothing to lose. You know, I've resigned from legislature. I'm just ordinary member. If tomorrow I'm not a member, for whatever reason, you know, I won't be losing anything. I've taken my conscious decision to say, let me step back and reflect. Because when I joined the party, I didn't join as a member of parliament. I didn't join as a councillor. I joined as a member. So why not? And I think one has many options in life. Simply
put, you won't fight your expulsion from the party.
No. Why should I?
All right. Something needs to change, though, Mr. Mncwango. Something needs to change about the leadership of the Democratic Alliance, about the direction in which this party is going. What has caused the Democratic Alliance to be where it is right now, in your view?
Look, I think the organization have made a mistake of not allowing proper engagement internally and aligning in terms of where we're going as a party, and also not acknowledging some of the challenges faced by the country. And I think, for example, if you look at where we come from as a country, it is a reality that we can't be talking about changing South Africa and building one South Africa for all when we can't really specifically recognize the fact that there is a majority of South Africans who have been sidelined deliberately by policies over the past many hundred years. Yes, now we are more than 30 years now in democracy. Something should have been done by the ANC with the narrow BE, which targets specific individuals and the elite. But at the same time, the solution is not to do away completely with BEE. Again, for example, it's about saying how then we ensure that the broad-based empowerment empower the majority of black people who are sidelined for so many years. Those kind of discussions not to be discussed on a stage where we all have the same vision to say we are prepared to build South Africa for all South Africans. We are prepared to acknowledge that there is some particular grouping in South Africa that is privileged because of the past. But if you deny there's an element of being privileged, somehow you're never able to reach some consensus about the vision. So you must be able to share the vision and able to discuss how then you get there collectively.
Simply put, again, Babu Mncwango, what you're saying is that the Democratic Alliance missed an opportunity when it did not put in its policies the affirmative action policy as perhaps one of the key driving forces. And interestingly, you talk about one South Africa for all. That was the mantra when Mmusi Maimane was still the leader of the Democratic Alliance. The DA says it's a party of equal opportunity. Are you saying that the DA was wrong to do away with affirmative action policies that it sought to put in place? Is that your standpoint?
Look, I think there are many forms of redress. It doesn't really need to be affirmative action specifically. Look, as long as you acknowledge that where you come from and acknowledge the fact that you need to start sharing this cake. Because of the economy, because of the cake. If you talk of land, you must also be honest about sharing this land. If you talk of commercial land, you must firstly start on the premise to say the land is actually currently occupied, mainly commercial land, is currently occupied by the few individuals in the country. Now, how then you must start discussing about how do you start sharing this land? Because there is no use of talking about communal land alone, which is so huge, yes, but the big portion of commercial land, if you can't discuss those issues honestly and say how then you bring everyone along, because part of the issue is if you have a majority swimming on poverty, you are risking a threat that you saw in July in terms of the unrest, where you've got majority of South Africans who end up going towards anarchy to find a solution because they are frustrated. You must avoid that by ensuring that you find policies that redress the imbalance of the past, by bringing those people on board and ensuring that you share this economy with the majority of South Africans. In that way, everyone feels part of this country. No one feels sidelined. No one feels as if I'm just a foreigner in this country.
Final question to you, sir. You have used the word arrogant to describe the tone that comes from the top in the Democratic Alliance. I want to use that description in relation to what has happened in Johannesburg, and there are threats that the coalition governments that are led by the Democratic Alliance in Ekurhuleni and Tshwane might be under threat. Is it your view that the Democratic Alliance leadership at national was arrogant in dealing with the Johannesburg situation, which is why your mayor was deposed there?
Look, Xoli, I think when it comes to coalition, one must be prepared to compromise. It's about give and take, you can't have it all. If you look at how we lost Tshwane and last term, it was along the same situation where we come on a table with a set position and not prepared to compromise, not prepared to go back and say, hold on, let's hear your view as a coalition partner. This is our proposal, this is your proposal, but we hear you, how can we meet you halfway? So I think those kind of things, Xoli, become an issue. So you can't then run a coalition arrangement when you can't really compromise at some stage. You must be prepared to compromise. There are times where sometimes you come to strong position. It's about negotiating. When you negotiate, for example, if you've been unions, when they go and negotiate wages.
So who was arrogant? So who was arrogant?
Sorry?
So who was arrogant here? Who came in with a set position? Who refused to change their minds?
It is my assessment that says, from what I've been following and from what I know from the... Remember, Xoli, I've been serving on the federal executive when I was the leader of the province. Now, I understand the approach of the party in terms of dealing with such matters. So I believe that approach doesn't really work. Like, for example, Xoli, we go to election with different parties because we are not believing in the same policies. We've got different ideologies. But we know very well that after election, we must be able to find each other and work together. So to come and say, I will never sit down and engage with a particular party, it means you're not prepared to govern. You will allow the ANC to keep collapsing the country. That's a problem.
Zwakele Mncwango, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.